I just want to start this video by saying spoiler alert for anyone who has not read the Invincible comics. A few years back, my uncle introduced me to this game called DC Deck Building, and we loved it, but there was one problem. It only had DC characters. So we decided, he decided, to start making characters from other universes or random DC characters that hadn't yet been made. We ran into a problem, though, when we realized that we both kind of liked different kinds of superheroes. So he sent me the templates, and here are the characters that I chose from Invincible, which you may know from the Amazon Prime show that came out last year. After all that Amazon Prime stuff, I went out and bought all 144 issues of the book and started reading them. Now in this game there are 5 card types, so most characters are based off card types, like different ones, and as you can see, Invincible is based off superpowers. And if you've seen the show or read the comics, I'm sure you can tell why. It's because he has so many superpowers like invincibility, super strength, flight, super speed, all that. And another card type that my uncle made called civilians. And the civilians you add to the top of the supervillain or superhero stack and add to their cost. If it's a villain, they capture the civilian. If it's a hero, the civilian's helping them. You know, stuff like that to make it an extra challenge. Oh, this thing isn't fitting. I guess I should move it up. Oh, where'd it go? Oh god, what the hell? Where'd it go? Oh, thank god. For a second there I thought I was gonna have to retype that whole thing. And that would not have been fun. Should probably center it more though. There we go. That's better. Alright, on to the next one. For my next one, I decided to do Adam Eve. Adam Eve, spoiler alert for anyone who has just watched the show, is Mark's love interest for most of the series. And her superpower, if any of you have seen My Hero, is kind of like Momo Yaoyorozu's, except Adam Eve doesn't have to study to learn the molecular structures of things. She kind of just does it. For anyone who hasn't seen it, her power is manipulating atoms and creating things out of other things. For instance, she could take the computer I'm recording on this right now, and if she was hungry, she could say, make a pizza. She can't, however, manipulate organic matter. Otherwise, she would just be able to rip apart any opponent that came at her ever. So, for her ability, I decided to base it off trading equipment, because the matter needs to exist in the first place for her to manipulate. So my thinking was that if you have an equipment, she would be able to take that equipment and make something else out of it. But if she doesn't have enough matter, she can't just create it. She needs the matter there. So you can only do it for equal or lesser value, because if it's greater, then you won't have enough matter. On to the third one, after I fix this center again. There we go. Also got to add from the lineup, because, I mean, she can't just take it from other players, because that would be an attack, and she would not be an attack-based character. On to the third one. For the third one, I decided to go with Omni Man. Omni Man is definitely the most popular of the bunch when it comes to this cast. After you look at all the memes that were created last year in honor of Omni Man, with the thick Omni Man meme, the Think Mark meme, which was one of my favorite memes of all time. Think Mark was awesome, especially with all the fan arts that were able to come out of other universes like Uncle Iroh to Zuko. That was great. But for Omni Man, I was kind of having trouble because I had already done a superpower and I didn't want to do another superpower. So for Omni Man, I decided to base him off punches, which is a starting card that you get in your first hand. But the problem was, I didn't know how to balance it so that in the beginning of the game, you wouldn't be too overpowered. So I decided that if you play a punch during your turn, it will help you defeat the supervillain. Or, well, the nemesis or archenemy card. Because you can fight heroes too. But this way, you're not too overpowered in the beginning, but more towards the middle point of the game, it can become very useful when you keep getting your punches over and over again, and it'll count as 2 extra towards the supervillain. Now on to the 4th of 5. Wait one sec, actually I need to check, make sure they're all good. Alright, now to the 4th of 5, we're going to do Rexplode, which is Adam Eve's girl or boyfriend in the show and in the comic. He's a wise, smart ass who's constantly being a dickhead. So for him, I also had a hard time because I had an equipment base and I didn't want to do another equipment base. And the next one's equipment base too, so I didn't want to make 3. So I had a real hard time with him. And then, again, spoiler alert for anyone who hasn't read the comics, I remembered that the way he dies is by charging his skeleton. And that blast is so powerful that it kills an alternate universe Invincible. So I decided I could base it off weaknesses, and if you gain one, you get extra power. Because when he dies, his explosions become more potent and more powerful. So I figured if you get a weakness, you can get an extra 2 power. However, you have to change this to once per turn, because otherwise you can just get as many weaknesses as you want and be able to do anything at any point. So that needs to be changed. On to the last but not least, also spoiler alert for anyone who hasn't seen hasn't read the comics. Robot becomes kind of a bad guy. So I made him kind of this anti-hero because his goals are good. He's still, in his mind, he's still a good guy. But he does his good things by, literally taking over the world. So I kind of made him an anti-hero. Not to mention that this is by far the favorite art piece I was able to find. This picture of Rudy/Rex/Robot is really, really cool. I love the artist who was able to draw this. But like I said earlier, since he's Robot, I feel like the obvious card type to base him off would be equipment. Especially considering the fact that Robot usually, sits at his computer and controls robots from there. He can control several at a time, so it only made sense for him to do equipment. But I was thinking, and we already had an equipment base, so I wanted this one to be special. Like, Invincibles wasn't just superpowers, it was superpowers and civilians. So, for this one, I made it not only equipment based, but also it's attack based. Because of his evil tendencies after coming back from the Flaxen dimension. How do you make this bold? Is it this or whatever? So the attack, I needed to think of an attack that he would be able to do once a turn that wasn't way too overpowered. So I decided to choose a player instead of every player. That way he can only make one player gain a weakness. And now that I'm thinking about it, he might be able to help out Rex a little bit, which makes a lot of sense seeing as how his body was cloned after the original Rexplode. Alright, well, that about does it for my Invincible deck building playable characters. If you want, you can check out some of my other videos. We release, me and my friends release a podcast every week. And if you want, you can come by, stop, stop and listen to our podcasts on Spotify. Search up the Basscast. And yeah, that's it for me. See you guys later.